Brought to you by Penguin.
The AfterGrief by Hope Edelman. Read for you by Exie Sands. Note to listeners, this program includes a downloadable PDF that contains diagrams from the book. Introduction. Getting over it. A medium once told my sister that our mother was living in a corner of her kitchen. Being our mother's daughters, we took this news in stride. She'd raised us to be open-minded and humble. Who were we to believe we knew better than anyone else? Also, our mother in a kitchen made good sense. Hers had been the nucleus of our childhood home, the place where she'd spent much of her time, standing at the kitchen island, prepping chicken cacciatore in her crock pot, drinking Maxwell House coffee at the speckled formica table with neighborhood friends, sitting at the corner desk and winding the avocado green phone cord around and around her index finger as she settled into a leisurely call. With 3 children and a husband for whom tidiness was forever an abstraction, she was always struggling to keep the space clean. My mother would have loved my sister's kitchen. Mine surrendered to chronic disorder long ago, but my sister's kitchen is always shiny and pristine. I'd choose to hang out there too. My sister and I live across the country from our family's burial plots and rarely get to visit the graves, so she placed a framed black and white photograph of our mother in the corner of her kitchen, between a neat row of mason jars and the countertop range. When I dog sit for her boxers, I give them treats from a jar, and we say hello to my mom. I might let her know that her children and grandchildren are doing fine. If I'm facing a big decision, I'll brush my fingertips across the glass and silently ask her for advice. I have to imagine how she'd answer. We had only 17 years together, and I was pretty much tuning her out for the final 2. I've long since forgotten the sound of her voice and the timbre of her laugh. She died in 1981, and we never made tapes of her talking. In my dreams, she speaks in an unfamiliar pitch, her words sometimes garbled, sometimes clear. I haven't heard her real voice in almost 39 years. 39 years. I know. That's a long time, says pretty much everyone ever. 39 years and you're not over it yet? Anyone with major loss in the past knows this question well. We've spent years fielding versions of it, explicit and implied, from parents, siblings, spouses, partners, relatives, colleagues, acquaintances, and friends. We recognize the subtle cues, the slight eyebrow lift, the soft, startled, "Oh, that long ago," from those who wonder how an event so distant can still occupy such precious mental and emotional real estate. Why certain specific nodes are still so tender when poked. How many of us have wondered the same? You're still not over it yet? As if the death of a loved one were a hurdle in a track meet that could be cleared and left behind. I wish there were a foolproof method for getting over the death of someone we love. So much I do. Except everything I've experienced, learned, and observed over the past 38 years has taught me otherwise. Since the publication of my first book, Motherless Daughters, in 1994, I've collected stories from thousands of women in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Europe, India, and the Middle East whose mothers died when they were young. I've spoken to, emailed, and met with their brothers, husbands, fathers, daughters, and sons. 5 file cabinets in my office are filled to capacity with research into how the human body, intellect, and spirit respond to major loss. In nonfiction writing classrooms for the past 20 years, I've helped graduate students and aspiring writers identify, question, and articulate their stories of trauma and loss. And for this book, I conducted in-depth interviews with 81 men and women who had experienced the deaths of significant loved ones in the past, most of whom were children, adolescents, or young adults at the time, and whose bereavement needs were frequently mismanaged or misunderstood. Because my focus is on living with long-ago loss, with an emphasis on early loss, the majority of my interviewees experienced the death of a parent, sibling, romantic interest, or close friend during childhood, adolescence, and early adulthood. I touch on adult loss of a spouse, partner, or child only briefly.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?